Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. Brought to you by Riptide Media. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. If you're joining me on X, continue to hold me down. Make sure you go ahead and download this on the Sports Radio 102.9 The Game app. If you're riding in the car, if you're hanging out in a place that you can't get to the YouTube channel, you can't get to X, you can't get to Facebook, you want to be in the places where you find this show. And one place that you can find this show all the time is on the app, 102.9 The Game. We got a great show for you today. And by we, I mean I. I don't know why I said we. I should just say I. I have a great show for you today. Joining me at 5 o'clock. You know, I've been talking a lot of WNBA, and I've been hitting on a lot of sensitive subjects on WNBA, and I think it's important to hit on those subjects. But I also think it's important to hit on those subjects with some women who can bring a little levity, just in case I go a little too far dude, like a little too much dude. I need to have some female counterbalance, not as an argumentative thing, but just so that we can have a conversation where if I'm just not understanding this correctly, I really want help. I really want somebody to tell me, no, you're tripping, right? Or, hey, that's too much, right? Or, hey, you just don't see it this way. I appreciate that. And so at 5 o'clock, I'll have on Carita Parks of Double Take Sports. She also covers the Washington Mystics and the Washington Wizards basketball teams. She also covers the Baltimore Ravens. And I wanna pick her brain a little bit about Lamar Jackson and the way he looked when he showed up to voluntary workouts. Like, I think it's an interesting thing, right? Where Lamar Jackson lies right now. Every single offseason, somebody has something to say about what he does, the way he looks, how, like, it's never just okay. Like, we have never seen Lamar Jackson shotgunning beers. We've never seen Lamar Jackson acting a fool. We've never seen Lamar Jackson wilding out. We've never seen Lamar Jackson not come in prepared to play, and yet at every single turn, we have people who question whether or not he's prepared to play. I find it maddening. So now the new thing is Lamar Jackson came into the offseason, the voluntary offseason workouts, really slim. And they said, oh, he was slim. He was really slim. And I haven't even talked about this with my guys yet, right? So if my guys are listening, jump in these chats, man. And you know who you are. If my guys are listening, jump into these chats. I want to hear what you have to say about this. I want to know what you think, because I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I noticed something. About Lamar last year, right? I noticed something. Lamar, MVP Lamar, right? MVP Lamar. Like, can't be stopped Lamar. I felt like last year, it wasn't that he didn't try to run as much, although I do believe he didn't try to run as much, right? I do believe that that's a thing. I do believe that is something that happened, that he actively tried to avoid running as much, but not because of him believing that he would get hurt, which is what a lot of people thought. I think it was something different. I believe that what he did to try to avoid injury was bulk up. And when he bulked up, I believe that bulk, the way he put it on, didn't fit well with his body, and he lost some level of explosiveness. You know how it is. Like, I'll tell you a story, and I'll try to bring it back. Right when I was growing up, I remember specifically I was in high school and I was 165 pounds as a sophomore, and I was 180 pounds or 175 pounds as a junior, 175, 180. By my senior year, I was 195. I continued to get faster and more explosive as I put on weight. Into college, I showed up at football my freshman year in college at 205. My sophomore year, I was 215. By the time I became a tight end, I was 240 pounds, and I was more explosive at 240 than I had been at any other weight. I was faster, I was more explosive, I was more powerful, right? Because sometimes putting on that weight, it just naturally fits your body. And sometimes you're forcing that weight on because you believe that's the best thing to do in order to be successful. To put that weight on to manifest yourself, to be more physical, to be more domineering, for people to look at you and look at you with a level of physicality that they have not looked at you before. The only problem with that is that if it doesn't fit your body, right? If it doesn't fit what your body is, then what's the use? If it doesn't fit how your body is constructed, then what's the use? And I believe that Lamar Jackson tried to put on weight, was successful, and because of it, he lost his explosiveness. Well, coach, what are you talking about? Like, he was still breaking off long runs. He was still doing this thing. Yeah, it's not that. See, this is the part where if you watch the game from a stat sheet, if you watch a game from the quote unquote analytics, you might miss it, right? If you watch the game from an angle that doesn't allow you to look at players, see how they play, and just get a feel for what the body is supposed to do, then you may have missed it. Not you may have, you most likely missed it. But Lamar Jackson was not nearly as explosive as he's been in the past. Don't believe me? Okay. We'll do this, right? Lamar Jackson is 26 years old. It's crazy, by the way. Lamar Jackson's 26 years old. He's been in the league for 6 years. He's been the MVP twice. And somehow people thought that the Ravens shouldn't pay this man. You people are stupid. Just want to put that out there. So, in Lamar Jackson's first MVP year, that's 2019, right? Which, by the way, he threw for more yards, or not for more yards, excuse me. He threw for less yards, but only about, by like 500 less yards, which, in the air, not really that much, if we're being honest about it. But he rushed for 400 yards more, or almost 400 yards more. So if you were to take the rushing passing equivalent, 400 yards of rushing is like 1,000 yards of passing. It's like 1,000 yards of passing, right? Now, in that season where he rushed for 1,200 yards and he threw for 3,100 yards, his average yards per attempt was 6.9 yards a play. The amount of yards per game that he got was 80.4 yards per game. This past year, his yards per attempt was 5.5 yards. The second worst of his career, only behind his rookie year. He only ran for 51 yards a game. Now, I'm saying only because I'm comparing him to him. And again, that's the lowest number since his rookie year. Well, what changed? What's different? Well, he's older, he's gotten injured, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, let's take a look. 2022, his average yards per attempt was 6.8. 6.8 yards an attempt, right? The rushes, much less. Last year, he ran for his lowest number of attempts, 112. Year before that, 133, 5.8. 2020, 6.3. 2019 is the 6.9. What am I getting at? The difference between the main yard, the big yards, and the good yards, the decent yards, the okay yards, those don't come like once you've taken off. They come immediately as you take off, and then once you are into the secondary. So if we wanted to look at this like yards, the first 1 to 2 yards, and then anything post 15 yards is what leads to the big runs. The 3 to 14 yards, that's just flowing, right? That's just, nobody was there, so I took off. But the difference between when you're able to skate for Lamar Jackson type of big plays, or whether you're able to skate for just regular athletic quarterback type of plays, come down to how fast you take off, right? Like how quickly you get the top speed, and whether you have the ability to sustain that top speed for longer. I contend that his weight made him have to rev his engine longer to get to top speed, which means that he was slower when he broke the pocket, and that it didn't allow his turnover to stay high in running afterwards. So what did he do? He got rid of that damn weight. This seems pretty simple to me. He got rid of the weight. Hey, you know what kept him healthy this year? He got rid of the ball faster. Hey, you know why he got rid of the ball faster? The offense is now predicated on quick passing, quick decisions. Then if you have nothing, take off. It's not based off play action, off of the zone read, off of the power read. It's not predicated on, even in the pass game, we're going to let a guy go because we know you can make him miss. And so now you have to always be cognizant of a free rusher. That's not indicative to success, right? That's not going to be the way you get it done. So why would we be surprised Why would we be surprised? Why would it be why would it be alarming that a guy who's used to taking off and going 80, going 65, going 45, 30-yard runs like it's nothing? Why would we be surprised that he all of a sudden decided, you know what? I'm going to get back to who I am. I'm going to get back to my weight. And then I'm going to work with these people and see if we can't just try to get my frame, the frame that I've been in my entire life, as strong and as limber and as flexible, because that's really how you prevent injury. Injury is in the strength, is in skeletal strength, and it is in flexibility. It is not in adding like armor, as you would, the muscle being armor. It's not in adding armor. I knew people who wore all the pads and all the neck rolls in the world and still got concussions, still got hit, still got broken arms, messed up shoulders. I wore a pair of undersized, like, quarterback pads my entire life. Like, that's what I wore. That's what made me comfortable. I had the best range of motion that way, right? I had the best range of motion that way. So I wore what was going to have the best effect for me. I never had any injuries based off of my pads being smaller, because that's not how injuries work. And so I think that he probably went back to the lab, and maybe it might have been a homeboy. Ayo, not for nothing, Cat Daddy, not for nothing, my guy. Like, you ain't really got to be carrying all that weight, man. I think that thing was slowing you down some. Hey, you know what? You might be right. We've seen running backs do this. We've seen running backs like bulk up and then realize that the bulk up made them less flexible, made them less explosive, and they got that weight off of them. We've seen sprinters do this. Sprinters interested in adding lean muscle instead of bulking up, because you would think that in a sprinter, oh my gosh, yeah, look, get bulk, right? Maurice Green, bulky. The rest of them dudes, cut up, ripped up, but lean. Lean. And there's no reason for Lamar Jackson to not think about his career in terms of the duality of what he brings to the table. He is a guy who can 100% kill you with his arm, and he's a guy who can destroy you with his legs. Why would you take away one of those skills for as long as you can do it? And at 26 years old, just look at the sprinters. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, speed is one of the last things to go. It's not one of the first things to go. Speed is one of the last things to go. And if your speed isn't one of the last things to go, if it's one of the first things to go, then that means you never really were truly that fast. We've seen guys come back from multiple knee injuries, lower body injuries, and still be fast. Still. So now we're talking about a 26-year-old who has not even reached the prime of his quarterbacking career. What would we say the prime of a quarterbacking career is, right? I would say that the prime of a quarterback career is 28 to 32. That's the time when you figured out the game, you've got it on lock. Look at how many quarterbacks over the years have been able to do Hall of Fame stuff 32 plus. And now you take a guy who's an elite level runner who can also murder you as a passer, and he get back to the business. Hey, I'm going to get back to this track level speed. I'm going to go get back to this blur speed. I'm going to get back to this speed that had people so afraid that they stopped blitzing. And then when they stopped blitzing and I took off, they couldn't catch me. See, the difference was they stopped blitzing as much. He was able to ding, 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 ding. But then when they came, they broke loose and he got out. He wasn't able to run away from people. That's what happened in Kansas City. I think he realized, yo, I can't run away from these dudes. So I'm going to stop running. Because now I'm putting myself in harm's way. When I could just take off and leave you dudes, it's nothing for me to run. People always talked about the run being dangerous, but none of Lamar's injuries have come when he was running. They've only ever came when he was trying to stay in the pocket. So that's what we're dealing with now. That's what we have. We have a Lamar Jackson who understands who he is. He doesn't need to look like Cam Newton because he's never going to be Cam Newton. And guess what? Cam Newton couldn't ever be him. They are two different dudes. He doesn't have to try to be like Josh Allen. You know why? Because Josh Allen's not as good as he is. By the way, neither is Justin Herbert. There's only one quarterback in the NFL that you have an absolute unequivocal beef to put ahead of Lamar Jackson, and his name is Patrick Mahomes. And if Lamar Jackson had a championship under his belt, if Lamar Jackson had gotten the championship last year, you probably couldn't even do that. Because now what are you going to say? He's not technically a better winner. Look at the win percentage. Lamar Jackson's number one. Where Mahomes shines is that he has championship rings. Right? Like, he's a different animal. He's a different breed, and he's got the hardware to prove it. He's got the MVPs to prove it, and he's got the championship rings to prove it. Lamar Jackson doesn't have those. But guess who else doesn't have those? Any of the dudes that you keep trying to put over Lamar Jackson. And so, like, for me, I look at it as simple. He went back to the lab. He saw what he needed to do to get better. And now he's back to show you who he is once again. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll be talking about the WNBA and Nike deciding that they are going to give Caitlin Clark her own signature shoe. You're not going to want to miss it. Remember, at 5 o'clock, we got Carita Parks coming on. And at 5:30, we got the Fish Hawk himself, self-proclaimed Fish Hawk, Maurice Freeman coming on, the new head coach at Daleville. That's all happening on the Riptide Media Networks. This is Talk Spicy.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me. Riptide Media Network. And as always, on the 102.9 The Game app. I have an admission, right? And you have to promise not to make fun of me. Although, if you make fun of me, I understand. I work out. I work out almost every day. And by workout, I mean I do something that gets the cardiovascular level up to the point where it is considered like, heart healthy. I do a lot of spin. I do a lot of spin classes because I'm not, 25 anymore, and my knees hurt. I've had 2 patella tendon ruptures on my right knee, and they have me not particularly enjoying the results that come from running. I actually don't mind running. I don't mind jogging. I don't mind walking vigorously for miles. I know that that's the best, but I just can't and do it consistently without my knees hurting. Now, I also know that my diet is awful. And so a lot of the soreness and the inflammation that I have would probably go away if I stopped eating bread, right? Or carbs altogether, because that's heavy, inflammatory, all that good stuff. But I mean, I love that stuff. So, what do you do? But I say that to say, as somebody who works out and understands how important hydration is, I forget to drink water all the time. Every day. Every day I'll look up and go, oh, snap, I haven't drank anything all day. I'll work all day. It'll get to like 3:00 and my head will feel a little weird. And I'm like, what's wrong? Oh, that's right, silly. You have not put anything in your body that is the substance, the one substance that is so good for you that your body is almost made up entirely of it. Right? It doesn't make any sense, but I do it. Something else didn't make a lot of sense to me as I was perusing topics for today. Nike announced that they are signing Caitlin Clark. And congratulations to Caitlin Clark, right? This ain't about Caitlin Clark. Although I'm about to say that, and then I'm going to mention some things that might make you believe that this is about Caitlin Clark. But it really isn't. It really isn't about Caitlin Clark. It's more about society. Caitlin Clark just happens to be the impetus for the discussion. And I want to have these discussions. What I don't like is when we have an opinion and people dismiss the opinion, dismiss the thought. They dismiss the thought based simply off the fact that they go, oh, well, why are you bringing race into it? Why are you bringing sex into it? Why are you bringing religion into it? Well, because those things might matter in those cases, right? So here's what I'm going to tell you. Sports, they love an outlier. Sports love an outlier. You want to know why Tiger Woods has made $1 billion in golf off endorsements and things of that nature? It's because when the greatest golfer ever meets something that doesn't look like the norm of what the greatest golfer ever is supposed to be, that is a recipe for success. Why has Serena Williams made so much money in tennis? Because when the greatest tennis player of all time meets a profile that doesn't look like any of the greatest tennis players of all time, that's a recipe for making money. You get where I'm going here? You see where I'm at? But nobody has a problem if I came out here and said that Tiger Woods only made the money that he made in golf because he was a black man playing in a predominantly white sport. That's why he was able to make the money that he made, because he was an outlier, because he was an attraction. People had to see it. They couldn't believe it. How is this black kid who doesn't come from affluence, who doesn't come from a country club mentality, how has he been able to ascend to this level? How's he been able to beat all of these other golfers who grew up with silver spoons in their mouth? How does that happen? So my question becomes, if it's okay for me to say that about Tiger Woods, if it's okay for me to say that about Serena Williams, why is it not okay for me to say that about Caitlin Clark? Hey, let me let y'all in on a little secret, right? And I don't take full responsibility for knowing this information, but I like to get information, then double check to make sure that the information is correct, because that's the journalist in me, right? The last 5 WNBA number 1 overall picks. Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me what they look like? I'll give you a hint. They're not white. You know what I never heard in the past 5 years? And I followed the WNBA. I just didn't get here. This isn't my first rodeo into the WNBA. In fact, I've been trying to become a WNBA writer for a long time. Guess what? Those jobs are hard to find. Number one, the people who are doing them, they don't want to give them up. Number two, they're not making more of them because the demand for them isn't high. Let's see if that changes. And if it does, guess who will be applying? Guess who will probably not get the job? So, the last 5 years, there have been black women taken as the number 1 overall pick, and not once have we discussed the salary of the number 1 overall pick. It's not until Caitlin Clark is the number 1 pick where now it is public knowledge that the number 1 pick doesn't make a lot of money. Why is that? Well, because Caitlin Clark is getting NIL money, and so if she would have stayed in college, she would have been $71,000 less rich. Not for nothing, Caitlin Clark didn't have a Nike deal that was going to pay her 8 figures when she was at Iowa. That came once she got to the WNBA. Now, would it have come in her final year of basketball? I guess we'll never know. Why is it only a situation now that she's here? Well, because she's an anomaly. Yeah, what do you mean? There's white women who are good in the WNBA. Yeah, there are. Who's the best WNBA player? It's not Breanna Stewart, sorry. It's Asia Wilson. And it's Asia Wilson to the point where Asia Wilson is offended every time you say that it's Breanna Stewart. Every time that you make it seem like it's Breanna Stewart, she's like, I'm here. I'm not just still me. I'm her. And Asia Wilson has been her since she stepped foot in the WNBA. Asia Wilson, the 2-time, should be 3-time MVP. The 2-time WNBA champion. Probably should have been 3-time, but there was another her standing in her way by the name of Candace Parker. And so Asia Wilson is sitting as a viable and known commodity. And she doesn't have a signature shoe. Yet, Caitlin Clark, who has not played a down of basketball in the WNBA, walks in not just to a Nike deal, but to an 8-figure Nike deal. So at least, so that you people understand, at least $10 million. And her own signature shoe. I ain't mad at you, Caitlin. Get your money. I ain't mad at you, mama. Get your shoe. But I don't have a problem with people being mad. I don't have an issue with people being mad or raising the question of how does she get this while there's nothing for Asia Wilson at this level. Now, let's play devil's advocate. The answer is there are more eyes on Caitlin Clark than there are on Asia Wilson. That's just the truth, right? It's the truth. But watch this. There are more eyes on LeBron James than any other player in the NBA. And yet, LeBron James is not the only one with a signature shoe from Nike. I'm not saying don't give Caitlin Clark her own signature shoe and an 8-figure salary. I'm saying, how is Asia Wilson not have her own shoe? I'm saying, where is the shoe for the most dominant woman in the WNBA right now? I'm saying, where's the shoe for the woman who is proven to be a marketing and selling machine, who has a bestseller? I think she was number 4 on the bestsellers list. She has a best-selling book. You know what's hard to do today? Sell books. If she can sell books, guess what else she can sell? Kicks. Why? Because girls like girls who are ballers. Girls like girls who have personality. Girls like girls who can be fierce on the court and still be a girl off the court. Asia Wilson is all of those things, and she's doing that while being like larger than life. Like literally, she is a giant compared to a lot of these other girls. Compared to a lot of the women in the WNBA, she towers over them. And yet, she has that duality that makes her likable, that makes her somebody that people want to invest in, except when it comes to the most powerful shoe company in the world. We want to get in bed with the anomaly. We don't want to get into bed with the proven commodity. And here is where the public's beef should be when they talk about equality. It shouldn't be about the salaries of these young ladies. It shouldn't be about what these young ladies are or are not making in the WNBA. It should be about the opportunities being granted to them to help raise their profile and put them in mainstream media. Nike has a machine behind them. And you know what that machine's going to do? It's going to turn Caitlin Clark into a darling. All she has to do is play well. All she has to do is play well. Not great, not phenomenal. She doesn't have to kill it. She just has to play well enough to stay relevant. She has to continue to pull up from the logo and drain shots. She has to make some highlights so that Nike can put together the most phenomenal looking minute-and-a-half campaign that you've ever seen that makes people fall in love with her shoes. And then they have to get the shoes right. They got to make girls want to wear those shoes instead of wearing guys' shoes. They got to make her let's keep it a buck. I'm surprised Jordan Brand didn't pull this up. I'm surprised. But you know what I would love to see? I would love Jordan Brand to go and reach out to Flau'jae, because nobody's talking about her in college, but she's the one coming. Y'all ain't pay attention because Angel Reese was out there being a monster. She was out there being a double monster because Caitlin Clark was out there getting all the headlines. Like, I get it. Y'all weren't paying attention. But make no mistake about it, she's coming. But people have a right to ask the question. Like, people have a right to talk and say, hey, is it too much to ask for the best women's basketball player in the world to have a shoe deal, like her own signature shoe deal? Like, is that too much to ask? Why is that? Oh, you always got to bring race into it. Well, what else? I just said that she's the best WNBA. Well, no, she's the best women's basketball player in the world. What else do you need? Because if I say, hey, she's the best women's basketball player in the world, you're gonna go, yeah, but does she sell? And then I go, well, she has a bestseller book. Well, yeah, but does she have appeal in apparel? Well, she does do a lot of do a lot of stuff with fashion, and she's involved in fashion. Yeah, but eventually we're running out of things. The only thing left to say is, yeah, but is she white in a sport dominated by black women? No, she's not. And guess what? I get it. But I also know that there's room for more than just one. And you can let the numbers speak for themselves. Like, hey, watch this. Hey, we like to announce that Asia Wilson and or let's go even further. We would like to announce that Diana Taurasi, Asia Wilson, and Caitlin Clark will all be getting a signature line. One will be an OG line of Diana Taurasi. One will be the stars of now with Asia Wilson, and one will be the rising stars in the future of the game with Caitlin Clark. Oh my gosh. Imagine the hype. Imagine how crazy it would be if that was the case. Imagine how and I don't know none of those girls' shoe deals. Like, they got something going on, but you hear what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. Like, of course people are going to look at this with a crazy eye. Nike hasn't given 8 figures to anyone else. Who is the signature shoe in the WNBA? Who has the signature shoe? Their own shoe. The shoe that has their name on it. Their impression, their logo. Come on, man. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? It's okay to mention those things. You know what it's okay to do? Because I want to bring this up before I get out of here, and then I want to talk about this at 5 o'clock when we are joined by Carita Parks of Double Take Sports. Why is it become okay to immediately just assume that everyone's intentions are bad whenever they say something off color? You do know that sometimes we just say things wrong. So the reporter in Indiana who made the gesture to Caitlin Clark, and for the people who are looking on any of the places with video, I'm going to show you what he did. I figured it out. He did the little heart sign. That is what Caitlin Clark smiled at. That is what she said she does to her family. His response was, well, yeah, if you just do it to me all the time and we'll be fine. Now, taken on its face value, did you really need to say that? Nah. What he was really saying is that what he really said was he loves her. Now, I want people to love me. And I'm not going to immediately assume that their love is in somehow a sexual nature, that their love is somehow creepy, just because they said something that didn't really land the way they that gentleman probably said it, and the moment he said it, in his head was thinking, oh gosh, that didn't come out right. It didn't, that's not how I meant it. That's not what I meant. That's probably what he's saying. But it doesn't matter. He's dead. Like, oh, he's a creep. He's a creeper. He's the worst human being in the world. Off that. That's what made him the worst human being in the world. I'm going to share for y'all because I asked a question, right? So, I think it was like Eli Rax, and shout out to Eli Rax. I like his account a lot. I follow him. New York Giants person, big in the Giant space. He said he quotes it and then puts a throw up emoji, right? But then he says, "Do the right thing and get this guy out of there ASAP." 100. And I'm just saying, he had the guy's got to die. And by die, I don't mean physical death, but you might as well if you just fire him from his job. Right? So I'm looking and I say, just to spark a conversation, because I'm genuinely interested in knowing. I said, can we at least know what he was referring to before we crucify him? Do we know that his intentions were nefarious? Now, Eli didn't respond because he didn't. I'm going to assume he didn't respond because he didn't feel strong enough about it to like have real conversations. I think he just said it because that's the vibe. If somebody somewhere says that something's creepy and you're a guy, you have to automatically be on the side of the people who are saying that it's creepy. You know who I haven't heard say it was creepy? Caitlin Clark. Like, maybe she did. Maybe she said, hey, or maybe she was like, oh, I don't think he meant it that way. And guess what? She's probably right. Now, I don't know what she said on it, but the responses that I got were interesting. So this one person says, Clark is known for doing a heart gesture with her hands towards her family after the game, which is what Greg is referring to. Downright creepy by any metric. What metric makes that creepy? I don't understand that at all. What metric makes it creepy? The other one says, the emoji says it all. Come on, coach. You're not that old. I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, but it is totally cringe to borderline creepy AF. If he did mean something by it, he should be fired and not allowed women's sports ever again. Like, I went, it's X, so I can't tell if you're slightly joking or being completely serious. But you just said, I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, but it's totally cringe to borderline creepy. To put your hands up and put a heart at somebody is creepy? Are we not allowed to love people anymore? I thought I was just being like maybe I'm just crazy. Another person said, "No, that's creepy, dude." And I just asked you out there, if I just say, "Hey," and I put a heart up, right? And I said, "Hey, if you just do this to me all the time, we'd be great." Not if you like come and talk to me, not if you spend time with me, not if you do any of this. Just if you do the heart hands to me anytime, will be good. We'll come back and talk about that. Hey, stay tuned at 5 o'clock. We've got Carita Parks coming. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men. This is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Sim Coach Gene Clemens, brought to you by Riptide Media Networks. And make sure that you've got that 102.9 The Game app downloaded on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, whatever device you use to listen. Catch us 4 to 6 Monday through Friday, either there or anywhere that you might see me streaming from at this time. I met this young lady a few years ago, and we just keep running into each other like all over the place. Anytime I'm somewhere, she there. Oh my God, get this girl up out of here. Like not all girls. This one, I was like, nah, she gotta go. I'm just kidding. It is none other than Carita Parks. You can follow her on X at Carita C Parks. Do I have that right, Carita?
That is correct.
Absolutely. You can follow her on X at Carita C Parks, and I'm sure she'll tell you everywhere else you can find her. She is the owner of Double Take Sports. She also covers the Washington Mystics and the Washington Wizards, and the Baltimore Ravens. And I actually have a few things that is specific to your beat that I want to get to really quick before I jump into some heavier things. First off, a lot of people making big deal out of Lamar Jackson coming back to voluntary camps skinny. I think it's a realization of his that he doesn't need to have all that weight on him. What do you think? What are you feeling the tenor around that area?
Well, I would agree with that, like what you just said, but also I would say that he came off of a tough season in the sense of you were right there, didn't get to the ultimate goal of the Super Bowl. So I'm sure he's taken a step back and thought about what he could do better, how he could be better. And a part of that probably included being more leaner. We had a conversation with the strength and conditioning coordinator yesterday, actually, who, said that now that he's more lean, they're working on adding lean muscle. So he was really excited about where Lamar Jackson is right now physically. And he even said, I've never been more excited in April for Lamar Jackson. So I think he's just trying to come back better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think he's trying to come back better. I just looked at the way he played last year when he ran, especially. And I was talking about it. It's like the suddenness when you take off, it wasn't there the way it's been in past seasons, and the long speed wasn't there. Like that ability to pull away from people wasn't there as it's been, Now, I mean, we're comparing Lamar to Lamar because he's a one of one. But when you go from having seasons where you're getting 6.8 and 6.7 yards a carry to a season where you're all the way down to like 5 and some change, like that's a sizable difference. And most of the time that comes at the beginning when you take off or when you're trying to run away from people. So
yeah, and I mean, when you have Derrick Henry now too,
well, you know that
so he knows that some of that onus won't be on him. But I mean, when I look at him now, obviously looking at him last season, it didn't necessarily resonate just looking at him on a day-to-day basis. But when I see him now, it's like, oh yeah. Like he definitely is leaner, looks skinnier, but it does look much better on him. And to your point, he'll be able to move faster because you're not carrying the extra weight.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that not every frame is meant to carry heavy amounts of weight. Some frames are just meant to blow in the breeze, and fortunately for him, he's one of those. And unfortunately for me, my body is one that carries a lot of weight. So that's one thing. The Wizards had what I would consider to be a not good season, right? Like a season that didn't go the way they planned. They've got money wrapped up in players that I don't believe they believe in. Like, what's the plans in the offseason for this team to get back to a level of competitiveness on where they have a chance to get to the playoffs?
Well, just out of curiosity, which players do you feel like they don't believe in?
I mean, it's pretty clear to me that the idea behind the way they constructed this team to be a heavy guard ran team, the guards that they seem to really want out there doesn't seem to be the guards that they paid the money to.
I don't know.
I'm dancing around it. I'm trying to be better about. I'm trying to be better about not just like, dissing people just for the sake of diss.
I don't think it's a diss. I don't think it's a diss. I'm a straight to the point, direct person. I want to know. You don't have to tap dance around it.
I mean, okay, Jordan Poole does not seem like he is who they thought he was going to be, right? Kyle Kuzma has a ceiling, and his ceiling is who he is. Like what he's doing for the Wizards, that's just who he is. Like that's who he's always going to be. There's a ceiling on certain talents. So between the money that they're paying Kyle Kuzma and the money that they're paying Jordan Poole, you see what the results are.
Well, for me, I had to think about this, and Jordan Poole is actually the highest paid player on the Wizards roster.
Yes.
Which, to me, for whatever reason, I think I automatically thought it was Kyle Kuzma as the season went on. And it just would make more sense to me based on Kyle's season last year, etc. I personally think that they are building the team around, or eventually they'll get to, because it's going to take some time, building this team around Bilal Coulibaly. I feel like that is who they see as their future. Will Dawkins, the GM, he was with OKC and a part of their reconstruction. And if you look at OKC, they didn't really keep many veterans on that team. I think that as a way to be competitive, they wanted to keep some veterans or have some veterans like Kyle Kuzma, like Jordan Poole, Tyus Jones. But at this point, I would say Jordan Poole, in my opinion, And to what you were saying, he's not necessarily what they thought he would be, which is interesting to me because with the Lakers, I feel like, that was Jordan Poole. And maybe they thought bringing him into a situation where he was more of a leader on a team, he would step up. And I think a lot of people were hoping to see that. Now, we did see him get better towards the end of the season and start to find his way. The Wizards leadership still seemed to believe in Kyle Kuzma just based on the end of season press conferences. Did I say Kyle Kuzma or Jordan Poole?
You said Jordan Poole.
Okay, I was just making sure. But
but then you said Jordan Poole and you said Lakers, and I knew you meant like Golden State. But
yes,
yeah, they're both yellow. It's good, and we're talking about Kuzma that came from the Lakers at one point in time,
and the Lakers. But Poole.
I feel like if Poole is allowed to operate in the no pressure position that he was able to operate in Golden State, then yes, you've got what you. But that's what I'm saying about Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma is who he is, right? He's playing a role that is perfect for what he does. Hey, get out there, fill it up. When it ain't going, we're gonna get you up out of there because you could shoot us out the game, right? Jordan Poole, his money says you are supposed to be the man. And that's the problem. That's the problem. His contract says you're supposed to be the man. His game says I'm not good when I have to be the man. Right?
Exactly.
So, but that becomes a situation that messes up your roster because now you don't have the same level of money to throw at assets unless you're like you said, the plan is to Golden State this thing. I'm not Golden State this thing. OKC this thing and start flipping these older or these veteran guys for a bunch of young people and hope that Koulibaly is the next he just popped out of my head. What's that?
Giannis.
Yeah, the next Giannis. I mean, he's too short to be Giannis, but the next guy who can, explode and be like a lead guy in this league. Like, is he going to be a guy who ascends, or is he just going to be Anunoby? Right? Like,
but I think that's why you see the way that they constructed the roster, because Bilal Koulibaly is only 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew coming into this season there was only and quite frankly, for a rookie at 19, he did very well this season prior to getting injured late in the season. But they did know that he can't carry a team right now. He can't be the leader on the team right now. And that makes a ton of sense. And so they went and got some veterans. But at this point, I just think they're gonna have to go young, continue to go young, and just commit to the rebuild. Now, unfortunately, that probably does mean the Wizards won't be competitive as quickly as fans want. But if you listen to the leadership team, they've told us since the beginning, since they took over, that they see this as being a 3 to 5 year process.
Yeah, it's rough because there's just so much talent out here that there's there's really no reason why people have to build this way. Like, you don't have to be horrible for 3 to 5 years. Like,
well, the Wizards were in a tough spot a long time ago. Like, a lot of the Wizards roster issues go back all the way to Ernie Grunfeld and those big contracts he gave out. And then you had Tommy Shepard come in, and his drafting was okay, but I don't see from my thought process and what I'm thinking of is he didn't draft anybody that's made a huge statement. And then he drafted Rui Hachimura, who they ended up trading. So, I mean, they got rid of John Wall. They were trying to build the team around Bradley Beal, which in my opinion was not a viable solution either. So I think we're just seeing a domino effect of bad decisions. And now this new leadership team has to try to clean it all up.
Okay. Well, I mean, God bless the Wizards fans out there.
Woo!
It's going to be a rough couple years unless
Unless
Koulibaly makes one of those like jumps where all of a sudden he's him. Mystics took Aaliyah Edwards. I was surprised because I felt if you're taking a forward in this draft, how do you not take Angel Reese? There were 3 forwards taken before Angel Reese, and Aaliyah Edwards was taken at 6. Angel Reese went 7. What are your thoughts about the pick, and what's been the talk around town about the pick?
Well, the fans wanted Angel Reese, and 1, because Angel Reese is Angel Reese, but 2, she's from the area. She was still on the board. So fans were initially the sentiment seemed there was disappointment in not taking Angel Reese when she was definitely there. But at the same time, I also saw the sentiment of those who have watched Aaliyah Edwards and, feel that she was the best player available at the time. And then in listening to the general manager, he definitely talked after the pick. He felt that Aaliyah Edwards complements the roster that the Mystics already have. And you could kind of tell from some of his answers that they've been watching Aaliyah Edwards for a while. So it made me feel like they kind of had their mind made up a long time ago on who they had their eye on, and it would have had something major would have had to swing that. And I am surprised with Angel Reese being there that they didn't take her. But at the end of the day, they still got a good player. I do think Angel Reese would have brought like the marketing that Angel Reese would have brought, the ticket sales, the fandom. I definitely think that was worth thinking about too. But
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like
I'm just thinking about this strictly like let's take the marketing out of it for a second, because I think they missed the boat, right? From that standpoint alone, you missed the boat, right? But from game alone, the way that Angel Reese plays her game, I'm trying to figure out what system it doesn't work for. Like she is a relentless attacker of the basket. She gets rebounds. She can defend your 5. She can defend your 4. She's athletic enough that she can switch out on a 3 or a 2 if she needs to for a possession. Like, what part of her game doesn't fit? Unless you're telling me that, well, we don't know if she can shoot. And my only response to that is that's something she's never been asked to do on a regular basis, because that's not how the offense worked in LSU.
Well, so have shooters, so they don't necessarily.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they liked how Aaliyah Edwards attacks the rim, but I think the same could be said for Angel Reese. So
that's my point.
My sentiment is Edwards is who they've had their eye on for a while. And to me, it feels like they stayed focused on that. And that's ultimately who they wanted.
I feel like 4 to 5 teams that took someone over Angel Reese overthought the draft. That's
well,
what
it's funny
because 4 to 5, because like obviously Caitlin Clark was going number 1, and not necessarily because I'm like she's way better, but
right.
She's the money. She's the draw. That's what she's there for. But then also, I can't be mad at anybody that's going to take a 6'7" monster who, is who has double written all over her and can be a difference maker. Mm-hmm. And that same team also happened to get Angel Reese. Yeah. So, like I can't be mad at that. But the other 4 teams, they're going to have some explaining to do. If Angel Reese ends up being who I believe she can be at the top of what her ceiling is, those other teams are going to have some explaining to do.
I don't know. I mean, to your point, I don't know why they wouldn't have taken Angel Reese, but I will say I like the Chicago Sky. I like their coach. I feel like they draft well, they move well in free agency. So ultimately, although there's other teams that are gonna have some explaining to do, I do like where she landed, and I feel like she'll be able to be who she is there.
Yeah, well, and that was part of it. That's why I wanted to kind of transition. She has fallen into a big market, which I think is great for her. Number one. One of the reasons why I thought Washington would have been fantastic for her, because big market, she's from there, close enough to other big markets where I just thought it would have been a great play. And I think that marketing has had a lot to do with the way in which it's not even just the W, but women's basketball as a whole has elevated these past, let's say, 2 years now. Since you know what, I can't even say 2 years. I'm not even going to do that. This last year and some change, since the LSU Iowa beef from the previous year, since Caitlin Clark slayed the South Carolina Dragon and went on to get beat by LSU in the championship and all of the hoopla, like the women's game is elevated since then. That has led to Caitlin Clark getting an 8-figure signature shoe deal with the biggest the biggest sneaker company in the world, Nike, and Asia Wilson, the two-time WNBA champion and most dominant player in women's basketball, looking around like, yo, where's mine at? And I just want to know why people are so afraid to just say the truth. Like, Caitlin Clark is an anomaly, and anomalies get paid. Right? She's a white woman who can play basketball, like at a high level. It's not like anybody is inflating her game, right? She is legitimately good, and she's a white woman in a sport dominated by black women.
Yes.
And throughout all of sports, anytime the outlier shows up and they could be one of the best ever, they get paid. They get paid like that. What my biggest issue is, where is the money for Asia Wilson? Because they're out here giving shoe contracts to dudes who don't sell shoes.
So and that's the problem I think most people have, is it's not that Caitlin Clark got a shoe deal. The more I look at it, I think people are mad Caitlin Clark got a shoe deal because Asia Wilson doesn't have a shoe deal. But at the end of the day, these companies are thinking about what is their market. And yes, Caitlin Clark is an anomaly. And I think there's a market for Asia Wilson, right?
Absolutely.
There's absolutely a market for Asia Wilson. But
if you can sell books, if you can sell books, you can sell shoes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And unfortunately, she may get a shoe deal now because there's so much hoopla, but it shouldn't necessarily have come down to that. She's already signed with Nike, I believe. She just doesn't have a shoe, but she is signed with Nike. So it doesn't make sense. Asia was a part of a 2-time championship team. Number one, she was one of the most likable WNBA athletes over the past at least 3 years from what I recall. So there is no reason that she shouldn't have a shoe deal of some sort. But I just feel like with these larger companies, sometimes, like you said, it's an anomaly. So they're looking at Caitlin Clark as someone who, in their eyes, can reach a bigger segment of the market, is what I think. And it comes down to money at the end of the day. How much money do they think they can make off of who they are putting their money into?
And I'm with that. I'm with that 1,000%, right? I just don't understand why it has to be only one, right? When it's just not like that in the men's game, and it's not like this isn't contracts we're talking about. This isn't WNBA contracts, because WNBA only has so much money to invest in players. Like, they can't pay these players what these players want to be paid ultimately, because they would go bankrupt. Like, we see that happen to leagues all the time. There's a reason why the number is there. So if you want them to get paid more, you got to go to more games. You got to buy more merch. But Nike doesn't have that problem. Nike can make an investment where they could lose money, but they could also, like, if they lose money, they're not going to fold.
Well, my thing is this: if you think about it, if Nike has one of the areas that the WNBA struggles with is sponsorships. So, I mean, in my opinion, yes, we're looking at these players, and that's important too. But I also feel like, why not invest in the game? And, that'll help a vast majority of the players.
No, absolutely. You can invest in the game. I personally think that as a business, they're looking at immediate return on investment. Like, how quick can I get my money back before I'm in the in the black?
But to your point, a Nike doesn't have that worry.
Exactly. That's what's so crazy to me. It's like, yo, your money, you're printing money. It doesn't matter. And if the shoes fire, if the sneakers fire, Caitlin, because here's what no one's saying. None of us really know about Caitlin Clark's personality, right?
We don't. And my thing, let's just back up too. Don't get me wrong. Caitlin Clark's done amazing things. As a college player, she's got a ton of endorsements. She's going to do well in the WNBA. But I think what boggles my mind a little bit is she has not even stepped foot on the WNBA court, and she's already got a shoe deal before she's even necessarily done anything in the league, not overall.
Absolutely.
But in the league. So it's interesting.
Listen,
I've got money. It all comes down to money. Somebody would buy, and not somebody, plenty of people would buy an Asia Wilson shoe. So
absolutely.
There is, Nike knows good and well they wouldn't lose any money.
and it's crazy because Asia Wilson's heavy into fashion.
Yes,
she's heavy into fashion. Mm-hmm. She is a personality.
That's what I was saying. She has the personality.
Yeah, something that we haven't seen from Caitlin Clark, and I don't actually think she has one. Like, I was making this. We were making this joke the other day when I was talking to Michelle Rabinovich. She's like, I want to see her a couple tequila shots in. Like, I want to see if the Casamigos, gets her to bring out who the real her is, because maybe we just haven't seen it yet. But I just think
you got personality. You got personality. Like, you don't need all that.
I've gotta go. I've gotta get to a break. We need to do this again because I want to get into like some marketability of these young ladies, and I know you're the person to talk to about it. Tell everybody where they can find you before we get up out of here.
Yes, you can find me on all social media platforms at Carita C. Parks. Also, make sure you follow Double Take Sports at DBL Take Sports. And as Jean mentioned, I cover the Ravens for Bowie TV Sports. So you can also follow them at Bowie TV Sports, and you'll find all my content.
Absolutely. And Carita, thank you again. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, when we come back, I've got Mo Freeman joining me, head coach Daleville. Stay tuned. This is Talk Spicy on Riptide Media Network.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie. So, wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Networks. Thank you for joining me. Make sure that you are following along on the 102.9 the game app. If you haven't already downloaded it, make sure you download it now. I should be joined here quite shortly by a guy who is a brother in fraternity. Just in case you ladies and gentlemen don't know, I am a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and I am joined by Coach Maurice Freeman, who is just so disrespectfully named himself the Fish Hawk. And I'm not really even listen, I don't claim to be the best fisherman of all time, but I'm nice with the rod in my hand now. Hey, Coach, I appreciate you joining me, man. Thank you.
Not a problem, Coach. I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. Go Mob.
Go Mob to the blue and white, baby.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the new position. I know for you didn't really have to change colors.
No, I didn't. Really not very much.
Not very much on the colors change, but obviously a drastic change. The years and years that you've been, manning things down in Brooks County to now, go across the border to Alabama. What went into the decision to kind of hit a restart or make a change at this point? You've been in the game for so long.
Been in the game for 36 years, as a matter of fact. But what made the change was I lost a staff member that was very, very close to me, and it hurt me pretty good. Not only that, in 2013, I lost three young men, tragic accident. Three of them, they were football players of mine. I thought we could have won state that year, especially if we had them. We played 14 games. I think they'd have been good enough to get us over the hump for that game 14 into game 15. Lost 3 guys to a tragic accident. I lost another kid to a violent accident, not an accident, but a violent crime in his neighborhood. Some guy shot up the neighborhood and shot him. Then I lost another kid. All of this is at Brooks County. I lost another kid that jumped off of a bridge. I'm not quite sure why that happened. He couldn't swim. I knew he couldn't swim. So I think something was a little shady about that one. And then my coworker, the guy, Coach Mitchell, the guy that gave me my very first head coaching job at 28 years old, he believed in me. He gave me that job, and we won 2 state titles together. But I lost him to kidney disease right before the season started in June. We had made a pact that we would go out, ride out in the sunset together, and retire together. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that because the Lord called him home. And just not having him on the sideline here, 20 years, me and that guy have been in the game together. We know each other like we both are each other's right hand. And just not having him on the sideline. And then I lost another personal friend that was a stat man for me. Lost him also, childhood friend. And that made it tough. And then I think our kids got a little bit lazy on me. I'm preaching to them, hey, man, we got a lot of talent. We're playing some good football, but don't get comfortable. And I think they got too comfortable. And I was going to work mad every day. And that is not the way I believe you should be coaching. And so I had to make a statement for myself, and I had to make a statement to my players to get them back hungry. And sometimes you have to step away to get the kids back hungry. And, man, it was a pretty good job offer down here in Alabama. They threw a couple of dollars at me now.
They peppered the gumbo, huh? They peppered the gumbo.
Yeah. You know, they called me and said, hey, these are the numbers we got. What do you think? Hey, man, I'm on my way. I'll be driving down there tonight. So, you know. I'm retired in Georgia, and so I can get a full salary here in Alabama. My wife retires in May. She is on board. We're a package deal, so she'll come down in July, and she'll work in the school system also, so we're a package deal. So financially, that does help us now.
So I was going to get into that because I think that one of the biggest passes that we get, one of the things that I really don't like about our profession is that people feel like empowered to act as if we're supposed to do this stuff for free. Like we're supposed to do this. It's not about the money. It's not, you're supposed to be helping. You're supposed to be mentoring. And I go, well, in every other sport, nobody is making that claim. Like people have an avenue to be able to support themselves at a level that they feel comfortable with without having to feel guilty about it. But in football, that's the place where they go, oh, well, it shouldn't matter about the money. It shouldn't be a thing. I salute you because I'm like the ability to retire and then move somewhere else and be able to get that, to get that boost for however long you want it. I mean, that's a blessing. Like a lot of more coaches should aspire to do something like that.
It is. We're not getting in this game to get rich, but we all want to make a great living. Now, Absolutely. Man, I don't want to be living from month to month. No, that's not why I got into this game. Now, all teachers, all educators are underpaid. We are the foundation of America. There is no doctor, lawyer, judge, president that did not get a high school education from a teacher. Now, there are a few of them that were homeschooled by their parents, but you do a little work, their parents probably went to some institution also. So They're all getting paid. They're getting paid, man. And I want to make the same living. I want to go on vacations. I want to see a lot of things. I want to do a lot of things with my wife. And the only way I can do that is to retire and come to Alabama and work full-time again. I'm 59 years old, work full-time again. And if I can stay 5, 6, 7, 10 years, man, I'll get retirement here in Alabama also. But I can go back to Georgia if I choose. I got some property there and build me a nice little house there and sit on the porch and just laugh every day. That's what I want to do. That's what every red-blooded American wants to do. But you're not going to tell me that teachers, educators, coaches can't do the same thing. We want to do the same thing.
And a lot of times it's difficult for us to do the same thing because there's no financial escalators that exist that allow us to maximize our skill set beyond what we do. Like for instance, I know of baseball coaches who also run baseball academies. And so they have the ability to generate tons of income off of their academy where they can do what they love, they can mentor, but they're making money at the level that you're talking about, where they can do things that they want to do without always having to look. My biggest thing is I want to be at a level where I don't have to look at my bank account when I want to make a decision.
Then you
right?
better get off. You better get off the high school level then, because
Hey,
that's what you. Look, I did it for 36 years in Georgia, and man, you always had to be concerned. Now, here's one thing: as a football coach, you don't have a lot of free time.
No.
Secondly, if you're a football coach and you say, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna train athletes on the side," well, those parents want you to do it for free.
Yep.
Your
Or
players,
they think you're trying to recruit somebody's kids.
Or they think you're trying to recruit somebody's kids. So it doesn't work out very well for you as a head coach doing anything of that nature. It doesn't work out well for you.
Yeah, I think that's one of the shames is, like, even as a teacher, if you teach and then you try to go and do some tutoring on the side, depending upon the kids you're tutoring, they're like, oh, well, that's a conflict of interest if you're the teacher and you're tutoring somebody.
That's right.
Or like if I wanted to teach and then I wanted to get a virtual job teaching somewhere else, there's a conflict there. Oh, well, you can't do both at one time. It's like, how can I maximize what I'm an expert at? And education, whether it's on the field, on the court, or in the classroom, doesn't always afford you that ability to maximize, what you become an expert at to make the most dollars, unless you leave the classroom. Like, I know teachers who are making a ton of money working for private companies doing like training and things of that nature, but they had to leave the classroom in order to make that money. And like you said, you had to go retire, go to another state in order to be able to essentially double dip the system, where you have things set up the way you want to when you finally decide to hang them up. So it's rough out there when you think about it, but obviously we all go into that with our eyes open, right? Nobody went into this blindly and thought, I'm going to be a millionaire.
That is correct. You're absolutely right about that. But the bottom line is educators should be paid more.
Absolutely.
They should be paid more.
Clearly, I agree. Being an educator myself, along with you, what excites you about this new adventure?
This is a program that's been struggling. I want to see if I still got it. I want to see if I can get this ship right. I want to see if I can put some speed to this boat. I want to see if we can learn how to bring that hammer. I want to see if we can become feared in this area. I want to see if we can fill up the stands. I want to see if I can make a big dent in this community.
That's fantastic. What's the first thing when it's been a long time since you've taken over a program, but you know how to run a successful program. You know how to run a successful championship level program. You know what it should look like. What's the first thing that you do when you put boots on soil to get your program where you need it to be?
I want to find the right coaches that are going to be loyal to me and run and help me run the program the way I think it should be ran. It's the first thing I'm going to do. Second thing is get the administration to give me the expectations that they want. Now I can go say, if you want those expectations, these are the things that I need to do that. Are you willing to do those things, or are you just bumping your gums saying, hey, make it happen out of just blood and water? Then we got to get these kids together and find out who really wants to play, what are their goals, get in that weight room, make sure they're doing their schoolwork, and we got to fertilize these players. You got to fertilize them and make them grow. And if you can fertilize them and make them grow, when you finally put them out on that field, on that grass, hey, man, we can do something. But first, you got to find the right coaches. And, hey, let's not forget, you're going to need some money. You're going to need equipment. You're going to need the camps. This is not a free deal here. You're gonna need funds to do the right thing to get these young men where you want them to be. And funds is a must. Now, we're a little short on funds here in this community. So it's gonna be trying. It's gonna be tough, but we got to find a way to make it happen.
I want to go back to what you were talking about because I am currently writing a book. The book is going to be titled "The Head Coach's Guide to Being an Assistant Coach." I contend that being a head coach made me a better assistant coach because I now understood what it was like to sit in the chair of the head coach. And now my mission as an assistant coach became, how can I make his job easier? Because I know how difficult the job is, right? How can I take something off his plate that he never ever has to worry about? He just knows, oh, Gene's got that. Coach has that taken care of. I don't even have to worry about it. To you, what's the number one quality that a good assistant coach has to have?
A good assistant coach, I've had one. His name was Brandon Evans. Anything Brandon Evans saw me do, he was going to do the exact same thing. If I picked up a cooler, he picked up a cooler. If I was washing uniforms, he was in there washing uniforms. If I was on the chalkboard writing it up, he was on the chalkboard writing it up. If I was going to look for kids, he was going to look for kids. If I was breaking down film, he was breaking down film. So what we called ourselves was second place. And neither one of us wanted to be second place. I always wanted to get to practice first. He was always racing to try to get to practice before me. So we called each other second place. But let me tell you something. That dude worked his tail off. He did things at the same rate that I would. So if I thought about doing something, he was thinking about doing the same thing. And we were getting things done. We argued all the time about defense, special teams, getting players to do the things that they need to do. So you need a coach that is your right-hand man that thinks the same thoughts you think. Hey, this has to be done. I'm not going to look around and see who's got to pick up that piece of paper. I'm going to pick that piece of paper up. That kid needs a ride home. Yeah, his mama's at home and there's 3 cars in the yard, but I'm going to take him home because Coach Freeman would have come home anyway. These kids need some snacks. I'm going to get these snacks. I might get my money back. I might not. But Coach Freeman going to get these snacks, so I'm going to get these snacks. So you got to be an assistant coach that'll do exactly what you know that head coach needs, not look around and see who else could possibly do it. You do it.
Where did Bring That Hammer come from?
Bring the Hammer came from the University of Minnesota. In 2008, I came to Brooks County, and I was looking through a Sports Illustrated book, and there was a young man on the University of Minnesota football team that was swinging a hammer at football practice. He was working on a hammer on a big old sled, and I was like, yeah, I like that. But they didn't mention the hammer at all. They didn't say anything about it. But what I liked was the way that guy was striking that hammer. So I said, man, I got to get my guys here at Brooks to be able to strike like this young man is striking that tire with that hammer. So what I did was that one day at practice, I told one of my coaches, hey, man, we need somebody else's helmet, not my helmet. I don't want to tear up one of my helmets. We need somebody else's helmet. One of my coaches said, man, I got a helmet from the last school that I worked at, which happens to be a school that we were playing. I said, I need that helmet. Went and bought me a sledgehammer, got all the kids at practice, and circled them up, put me some safety goggles on, and I started to smash on that helmet. And, man, let me tell you something. Helmets are pretty doggone tough. Didn't realize that. So I'm smashing on that thing. And they're like, Coach, what are you doing that for? I said, I'm trying to show you guys how to bring the hammer. I smashed on it again, and they didn't get the reaction. I didn't get the reaction I wanted. I smashed on it again. I don't get the reaction I want. I said, look, with your body, with your mind and your soul, your heart, and your helmet, I want you to do to the opponent what I'm doing to this helmet. I am bringing this hammer. And then one kid said, oh, no, Coach, let me get a swing to it in. And it caught on.
It's wildfire.
From that point on, we walk around with our hammer. Man, as a matter of fact, I got a hammer necklace. I got hammer wristbands on. My tag on my truck name Hammer. My dog name is Hammer. We bring that hammer, baby.
I love it. I think it's interesting because you never know what's going to resonate, right?
That's right.
You never know what's going to resonate. I actually remember a hammer story. Florida State, their chaplain, I believe it was. He was like, we gotta, and this was like the heyday of Florida State. He said we gotta be like this hammer. We gotta, and what does a hammer do? When a hammer everything a hammer touches, it destroys. And that man took that hammer. It was a cinder block sitting there, swung that hammer one time, and that cinder block exploded. Everybody lost their damn mind. I mean, they went crazy because you feel the energy, because there's no other way to swing a hammer. Like you can't lazily swing a hammer. You can't lazily wield it. You got to be strong in order to wield it. You got to be strong in order to swing it.
You're right.
It's a fantastic thing. A fantastic thing. So you said, first order of business is finding good coaches.
Yes, must.
How is that process going? What do you see your staff looking like this first year? Do you think it'll change as you're there, over the next couple of years? What do you think is an ideal? If I gotta go to battle right now, what are you looking like for a staff if you had to go to battle?
First thing first, got to find me an offensive line coach. That is a must. You got to find an offensive line coach. So I found one of those. He was already here. Young guy, but I like him. And there's some things he wants to do. I love his ideas. I love his enthusiasm. Next thing you got to find is a couple of just nuts that can coach a position that's going to be high energy guys. Must have high energy guys. I have a couple of those already here. Next thing, which I interviewed a guy today for my offensive coordinator's position. I really like him. I got 2 more interviews. These other 2 guys going to have to knock my socks off to beat this guy today. Fundamentalist, believes in fundamental, believes in being physical, and he was high energy also. I love high energy coaches. He was a high energy guy that is meticulous. He loves to be specific. He's not going to allow guys to guess. He's going to make sure you know the do's and don'ts, the ins and outs. And he's not going to overcoach it and give you 100 football plays to learn. He gave me 5 offensive plays on run, 5 offensive plays on pass. They all interacted with each other, and that was enough. That's a great start. Don't come in with no doggone book. How are we going to teach a book that fast? I don't need that. But he came in with it. So you got to find an offensive coordinator. Normally, I'm my own defensive coordinator because I want the kids on defense to act like me. I'm a high energy guy. And I want them to act just like I act, full of energy, bringing that hammer. We defeat our opponents by being extremely physical. I don't care what level it is. People don't like to get hit. They just don't like to get hit. You're going to find a whole bunch of them that say, oh, I love that kind of party. No, it's got to be a defensive guy that loves that. So I'm on the defensive side, and I'm getting them guys to be balls to the doggone wall. We're running through souls out here. We making mamas come out the bleachers. Leave my son alone. Y'all killing him. That's what we want to do. So, I'm going to be that defensive guy. I need to find me 1 or 2 more of those. Then I need to find me another guy that pays attention to everything. He loves stats. He loves breaking down huddle. He loves special teams. And you put those combinations together, and you're going to have a pretty good staff.
I'll get you out of here on this one. And again, rest in peace to Marvin Mitchell. Have you thought about what it's going to be like in this second phase now? Because 20 years is 20 years, right? Sure. Have you thought about what it's going to be like in this second phase, and how much longer do you want to do this? Like, legitimately, how long? You seem like you revving to go. You don't look like you ready to hang the hammer up anytime soon.
Man, you know what? I was home for 2 weeks without a job, and I was so doggone bored. I'm looking out the window, looking out the door, seeing if somebody's driving by to talk to me. I can't stand it. I got to work. I fish. I love to fish. I fish all the time. I am the originator of the fish hawk. It's what I do. I was a hawk before the hawk was a hawk. I'm the fish hawk. But there's only so much fishing the fish hawk can do. I love coaching. I love being around young men and making them work. So I still got plenty of gas in the tank. When the good Lord say sit down, I'll sit down. But he hadn't told me that yet. So I'm enjoying this work, man. And it's rebuilding young men. And then you get to see them later on. Yes, in Brooks, I've had the opportunity to coach daddies and their sons. I probably won't be able to do that here. But I can coach some doggone sons and get these guys ready for the real world.
Hey, Coach, I appreciate you. Good luck in your new endeavor. Also, I still want to link up, man, because I'd love to do that linebacker symposium, man, and just really like dig into linebacker play. I think it's one of the most vastly undercoached positions in high school football.
Well, I would like to do that in a gym. I would like to be in a facility. We get a bunch of linebacker coaches together and we teach each other. We bring some kids in and we teach these kids how to play linebacker, video the entire thing. That would be bomb. That would be big time, man.
Absolutely.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
I think the problem is that there's just not there's not as many people learning the business that is linebacker coach, right?
Right.
Like, very similar to tight end, where you've got to know how to block and you got to know how to operate as a receiver.
Yeah, you're
linebacker,
right.
you can't just get away with worrying about the run, but you can never just worry about the pass.
Yeah, this is not 7-on-7. It's called football.
Absolutely. They're gonna hit you in the face. So I think it'd just be a great thing, especially if you're getting, new coaches in. Hey, this is essentially your Bible to how to coach the position, and have it filled with demos and board talk and all of the things that you need to be a top level linebacker coach. I think it'd be great.
I'm so interested. It's ridiculous. I'm interested.
Absolutely. We'll have to link up on that.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Make sure that you follow Coach Freeman. I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, at M14 Free.
That is correct.
Right, at M14 Free. You'll know it because it'll say bring that hammer when you get there. Make sure you follow him. Hey, if you're out there in Alabama, you're gonna want to get down there and watch these teams play. If I tell you anything that I know about Brooks County, when I came down to this, to the southern part of Georgia, is them boys down there hitting. Right? Them boys down there hitting. If it's one thing he's going to do, he's going to live by that mantra, bring the hammer. I appreciate you. Nothing but the greatest of luck to you and blessings. And we'll definitely link up again soon.
Bring that hammer.
Yes, sir.
Take care, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me at Talk Spicy, a Riptide Media Network production. I shouldn't say a Riptide Media Network production, brought to you by Riptide Media Network. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me. Wherever you are joining me, rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, if you're joining me on X or Instagram or whatever you're calling it, I always appreciate you. Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. We always appreciate it. Join us tomorrow for our best of. It is not a recap show. It is when I break down the best of the week, the best things that have happened this week, what I consider to be some of the best stories, some of the best things that I've seen. We'll talk about it here. So join me tomorrow, as always, 4 to 6. Until next time, peace.